This is Coach MJ. We're back on an episode of the Real Mission Impossible show. Today, we're actually having a premiere of the Firepower C-Suite. This is our Movers and Shakers series, which we're introducing on a monthly basis. And in our first episode today, we're basically in two sessions. Our first session will be an entrepreneur who's done it all, and we're going to meet him in just a minute. And also, later, we'll meet a futurist to tell us all about AI. And these keynote speakers are flanked by our distinguished board members who are on the firepowertalent.com board advisory. So without any further ado, I would like to introduce this gentleman to you. His name is Mohan Ananda, and what an incredible journey he's had. I'm going to let him talk about his journey and ask you, Mohan, thank you so much for coming, by the way. I'm going to ask you, because you're at a conference today and you're in a hotel room speaking with us because you're in demand as a speaker and everybody wants to grab you, of course. You just not done another raise of $230 million for Zoomcar. We'd like to know more about that. And today we're talking about mindset. I'd really like to get into that because, to be successful, you have to hit a few hurdles along the way. And I'm sure you did. So I'd just like to hear your story if we can. Thank you so much for coming. I look forward to your story. Could you just share with our audience right now, please?
Thank you very much, Coach Dolan. It's a pleasure to meet you and, of course, the whole team. And it's a privilege to be here. Okay, to start with. Let me give you a background. I come from India. I came as a student many years ago. And obviously, I never left the area where we came to. We came to a place called Pasadena. It's part of Southern California at California Institute of Technology. It's one of the good schools in this country as a student. And I graduated. I finished my PhD in astrophysics and started working for NASA at Jet Propulsion Laboratory, which is actually next to Pasadena. Then before that, I have three stages in my life. The first stage is I call scientist stage, doing really science work, some pioneering science work. So I worked on interplanetary missions, mission to Mars, mission to Jupiter, and things of that type. Then I was recruited by the Department of Defense to work really a new interesting weapon system called Global Positioning System. So I became an architect of GPS, and that is, I believe, that work is my contribution to mankind, because even though it is a weapon system, but it is being used by almost everybody in the world now. So that's once that is done, I was traveling back and forth to Europe because I became more of a liaison officer between the US government and NATO for GPS. So I was just traveling quite a bit. So that kind of gave a little difficulty for my family, in the sense my wife being a neurologist practicing with two young children. So they were not very happy that I was not at home. So that came to me and said, okay, maybe I should change my profession, and went to law school and became a lawyer. So that's a transition from being a scientist to a lawyer. So that did happen. And I started practicing law, formed a law firm, practicing law primarily in the technology companies, startup, small, even some large companies. I provided primarily in the area of corporate, not in litigation, did some litigation work, but mostly corporate law, capital raising, merger and acquisition, and taking companies public. So that's that type of work. And also, because of my technology background, I did some intellectual property work. So IP work kind of, that gave me some additional thing to think about. Maybe I should do my own intellectual property. So I applied for a few patents And that was in the early stage of internet. I'm talking about the period of 92. 92 is, of course, internet is there, but the data rate is very, very small. But I saw the trend saying, look, this is going to grow. That is the next generation. That is the digital revolution is going to come. So I got some 4 patents in a very, very early period of the digital age, primarily almost like a backbone for e-commerce. The e-commerce is not there, but my patent kind of gave the technology how to do it. And that contributed in my forming a company called Stamps.com. But that is my 3rd stage, meaning I became from a lawyer, even though I'm still a lawyer, but I became more of an entrepreneur and starting companies, because I've been working with a lot of such companies before, but I was not doing for myself. So I said, okay, since I've been helping others to do, so why not I do certain types? So I started forming companies, my own companies, with, of course, the key ingredient, bring the right type of people, and you need to have a product or service concept in place, and then put it together. Of course, the most important other ingredient is capital. You have to bring in the right capital to do the thing. And so in some of the companies I failed, and we can go into if there is a need. But the failure is a step towards learning. You learn more by, something went wrong. And I analyzed why it went wrong. So you understood that, yes, this is always a rational reason behind failure. But that helped you to become hopefully a better person to do the right thing. And I formed Stamps.com as an example. And that I took the company public, and we raised a significant amount of money. And about 3 years back, I sold the company to a private equity firm for $6.6 billion. So that is a very successful event. Then I have taken actually 3 other companies public. One is called InvestNet. It's in the financial tech company that is currently, the symbol is ENV, and that is now in the New York Stock Exchange, and it is growing companies. And then I took another company public in London Stock Exchange. It's called the JAB. That is more of a venture funding company. It's not actually doing things, but you put money into companies of technology type. And for example, one of the companies we invested, and I was on the board, called Aurum Auctions. Aurum Auctions is a very high-end classic car auction company. And that's been it's a Canadian company, and it's successful. However, they eventually sold it to Sotheby, and now it's called Sotheby's Aurum Auction Sotheby. And then I started a SPAC, which John mentioned about. The SPAC, of course, we went and raised about $130 million. As a matter of fact, at the time we went for public, we had more money coming into that thing, but we said, okay, this is good enough. So that SPAC went then combined with a company called Zoomcar, Zoomcar is even an American company, but mostly doing work in the emerging markets, India, Egypt, Indonesia, and they are in the process of growing into Turkey, Brazil, and other countries. And that company is primarily like Airbnb, but instead of Airbnb being in the real estate, this is a car. That's the company I am currently involved in. And so that's the journey has been interesting. And I sit on a number of boards. And as Coach Tolan said, I published 2 books so far. The one book is the as I said, autobiography. I have a copy, autobiography of an immigrant, and which is basically my life story. And another book I published called Start Small, Dream Big, which is both are available on Amazon. And that primarily is a journey how a entrepreneur should take it, or at least give some guidance, what kind of things you can do to to reach the destination. And once you the ideas are, how do you put the team together? How you raise capital? How do you do M&A? And how do you manage your financing and cash flow? How do you leverage your debt? Of things of that type. It's pretty useful guidance. In addition to that, then how you, if at the right stage, how do you take the company public? And once the company becomes public, is that the right time to exit based on a private equity or somebody else? Or a private equity can buy your company, or a larger public company can buy your company. Whatever mode, once you exit, then how you preserve the wealth you have created, how do you transfer it to the next generation, and how you minimize tax liability or some estate planning concept. So it's more like a full journey of an entrepreneur. So that is a very useful guide to most people, most entrepreneurs. So that's one area. And now I'm working on two other books. One book is almost done, and hopefully it will come out in actually a month or two. That is not really a technology or an entrepreneur book. The title is Looking Back, which is basically a collection of images and places we traveled, because we had traveled over 100 countries, and the experience and the value I got. So I put it together in the sense how you can improve by traveling. So it's more like a traveler book, which is a coffee table book. But it is interesting how it changed my life traveling to many countries in the world. Then the fourth book, which is almost in preparation, is called, that's like a guide to, the title is AI, or Life and AI, Life and Artificial Intelligence, meaning how the artificial intelligence is changing the human life, and what are the positive aspects and certain negative. But I'm a believer it's a more like a transformational thing happening in the world. And it is at the beginning, we are only in the early stage, and how it can revolutionize, the whole quality of life. And I've made few predictions. One prediction being the life as we see it will be transformed into much better, because people will not be doing much of the mundane work. So it's very intellectually similar, or where you really contribute from creative part or innovative part, people would be engaged in it. And the companies which are involved in it will be highly profitable, because most of the work, mundane work, will be replaced by machines, automation, and the revenue, the cost associated with manpower expensive will be reduced, and the profitability would be much higher. In addition to that, that does not mean only the companies will make money. The cost of goods are going to come down. So that means your quality of life will be much better, in the sense of you can spend more time enjoying rather than working. So there will be people will be taking more time off, traveling to various places or whatever, how you improve your way of life. So that change is happening. It will take some time, but it will be chaotic in the beginning, because people will lose job, that will create some issues. So the book kind of goes through the various scenarios and provides some insight into what could happen in the future because of artificial intelligence. But anyway, so those are some of my part of, and I currently work with a few charitable foundations. Like I have my own charitable foundation called Ananda Foundation. We provide service to, throughout the world, and especially here, we do healthcare support to veterans, as an example. So I am very much into that, supporting our veterans in many ways. And then another foundation I'm currently working on is called Panini Foundation, which is actually a friend of mine put it together. He has a company called Jiffy.ai. Jiffy.ai is an artificial intelligence company, and he believes, or his team believes, that will initially reduce the number of people working, and because of lack of skills. So the Panini Foundation is providing support to create the new skills necessary for the new digital age, or the AI age. So those are some of the things I am involved. I'm also involved in Stanford University has a SEED program. SEED program is providing support to young companies in Asia, in India primarily, and Africa. So I provide some work with the Indian companies, and I sit on the board of few other startup companies. I mean, I just gave a kind of a picture of what I've been involved in my journey from the days of coming to the United States as a student.
My goodness, that's an overwhelming journey that you've had. Just to understand, it's kind of reminding me of Forrest Gump. You serendipitously wandered onto the shores of America, got into NASA, then did all that wonderful invention, patents, GPS, etc., then decided to be a lawyer, then got into IP, then decided to start stamps.com, raised at the end of the day over $6 billion. Well done, sir. And you just continue to, as an entrepreneur, with that mindset. Now, I love the title of your book about dreaming big. Most of us talk about dreaming big, but I don't know personally anyone that I've met who dreamed as big as you have. It's really an honor to hear you. I'm just elevated to be in your orbit today, to hear these amazing things that you've done with so much beautiful humility that you've shared with us today. And I think we definitely would like to invite you back. We're doing a masterclass on entrepreneurialism in May or June. Could we book you for that? Because we'd really love to get your expertise.
Sure. I mean, depending upon my schedule, I do not. Well, I have. My schedule is very tight in the sense.
I bet.
I love to participate. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. I have to ask, and we'd be honored if the schedule can work out. We'll work around your schedule. How about that?
Yeah, that would be perfect. Excellent.
Okay.
Excellent.
Captain Joseph Poland, we've got time for one question from you before we go. We are on a tight schedule this morning, but take it away. Unmute yourself. Jump on in.
Thank you, Coach. Mohan, absolutely remarkable experience, expertise, and really a lifetime of leadership that you have demonstrated. So it's my honor and privilege to learn from you today. Three of the pillars that we talk about with respect to not only individual leadership excellence, but organizational leadership excellence, and the way that great teams and great companies and great organizations aren't just successful for a year or two or five, but last and endure. One of those themes surrounds culture. And it's always been my observation that elite teams, successful teams, companies that last for decades, that are highly successful, have cultures that attract and retain extremely highly talented people who become very passionate about the future of that organization. In your experience, can you share a little bit about this concept of culture and how the most effective organizations that you've worked with, maybe an example or two of the type of culture that they had that made great people want to join that movement and work on that vision and be part of that cause and stay with them?
Yeah, certainly. That's an excellent observation and a question. I have always worked with the most important thing in my mind. I only work with people thinking similarly like me, meaning you do the right thing for the good of the society. See, in fact, I have come to that. I mean, this has been my practice right from the beginning, but now it's more because when I was reasonably young, you have to do things to make a living. But as you grow older, you become, that needs are met. Then now I do only two things. One, I do things which I enjoy doing. Number two, whatever I do should help somebody else. Those two pillars are essential. And in any culture, any organization, if they do what they think is the right thing to do, then I think they will be successful. But it may take some time. But the problem is you may not know what is the right thing. Because some people may think this is right, but that may not be right for somebody else. But you have to be objective enough that you, in your best judgment, that's the type of organization I would be part of. For example, the reason I just said about Stanford Seed development, that work, they do things to help companies, institutions which are growing and helping people in Asia, primarily India and Africa. So that certainly it's a good cause. So any organization which has a good cause, the most important thing is they need to do something helping the society at large. So those are the institutions I not only belong, I would love to belong more. So that is and also that gives you success. The success depends upon, of course, the individuals, the team, and their confidence in reaching their destination, their capability to really fulfill. It helps the society at large. Then success comes in. I mean, of course, there are examples you can come up with where things people have done something wrong and they've look successful, but eventually that will fail because sometimes something will go wrong and that will be the negative aspect of it. Whereas do the right thing for the society at large. And that's the culture I would support. And I've been privileged or lucky enough to be part of such. Like you take even the Zoom car. What we are doing is, for example, let me give a clear, we are generating what we call micro-entrepreneurs. Micro-entrepreneurs mean, where instead of just taking your car and giving it for the so-called self-driving platform, the Zoom car platform. In addition to that, you can actually create a business of buying cars, making some small investment, but then provide it in the platform, and your rate of return is significantly high because we can get loans at a very reduced rate because of we get large number of cars, and so you can even get new cars on a fleet price. So as an example, the idea is to create these micro entrepreneurs. We are on a road to create 100,000 to 300,000 micro entrepreneurs. So which is creating value to them, the quality of life, the society at large. So there is a purpose of doing this. Of course, the company has to be successful to do all these things, but you're creating a number of very successful business owners. So as an example, so that's the culture I want to be part of.
Well, that's very commendable. And obviously, anyone who's listening to this or watching this show today, thank you very much, Joe, for that great question.
Absolutely.
And the way you answered it, Mohan, was almost predictable. It seems that your integrity and your character and your values shine through in everything that you've done. And it's really unfortunate that we only had a limited amount of time together with you today. And I know you're at a big conference. You're so in demand now. You're not at home at all. You're in a hotel room. You're attending a big conference. Everybody wants to grab you and bring you on stage and get those breadcrumbs of the pixie dust that you might have that fall off, because everything you've touched turns to gold. It's been an honor to have you, sir. Thank you so much. And I will be reaching out to you for our entrepreneurial masterclass in a couple of months from now, based on your timing, right?
Thank you. Thank you very much. I would love to be part of it. And if I can be of any kind of help or assistance, I'm available.
That's awesome. In the meantime, our editing team will be putting up your books in the footnotes and also in the links of this recording, and we'll be replaying on LinkedIn later on. So thank you so much, sir. Have a great day.
Thanks again. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Stay tuned, everyone. We have another exciting part of this Firepower C-Suite coming up. We have an AI futurist coming in. His name is Carl Lillrud, and he's being joined by Dave Crane and by Professor Christian Ferrioli. It's an exciting segment. Meantime, I'd just like to say my name is Coach MJ. If you've ever seen the Real Mission Impossible show, this is a business segment, because somehow impossibility thinking doesn't always have to be overcoming adversity, which is important. And never forget that. And resilience is a very, very important thing also for mindset. But somehow people like Mohan Ananda, who out of nowhere came over to this country and walked right into the gold, right into it. And then not because he had a particular shovel, because he had a curious mindset. He had a certain situational awareness, and he had an internal compass. He had his own GPS that led him to the opportunities instinctively. He educated himself, and through that, he was able to then say, well, hang on a second, I've got this PhD, but, I think I want to be a lawyer. And so he went and educated himself as a lawyer. I'm so impressed by this, and we're just so lucky to have had him. And I want to bring on now Dave Crane. All right. Hello, Carl. How are you, sir? Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to be getting started with your segment in just a couple of seconds. Christian, did he grace us off of his couch?
I'm here.
Very good to see you, sir. Thank you so much. So in this segment, and of course, Mohan's got a lot of information about this too, because he was on the cutting edge, right on the tail end of the beginning of the internet, and was able to segue that, leverage that information into creating a company that raised over $6 billion. That's just phenomenal. So I'm so impressed. And now we have a new opportunity, and it's called AI. And this AI, which Mohan obviously has some interest in also, Carl Lillrud, who's going to be giving us just a little bit of background on, or update rather, on artificial intelligence. He's written 9 books, and he is a well sought after speaker internationally to talk about artificial intelligence. He's done some incredible experiments that I'm aware of. I was able to meet him, and fortunate to meet him personally, as was Dave, as was one of our other members, Professor Christian Ferrioli. So we're going to have a little roundtable today. And Mohan, if you have time, stick around and listen in. I'd love to have you here. But I'm going to ask Carl to just come up on stage now and just start to give our audience a little background about yourself, and also what is the future of AI in a few minutes.
Yeah, so real short, thank you for the introduction. I don't think I need to spend too much time on my background, but if you're interested, just look me up on a simple Google search or maybe a ChatGPT search if you like. And let's jump straight into the space of artificial intelligence, because that's what we're talking about now, and that's what everybody are talking about. Artificial intelligence is something that is new to many people, but for some of us, it's been a while that we have been experimenting, as you say, Chris, MJ. And the interesting thing that we are seeing here is the rapid development. But what I would like for us to talk a little bit about here and also to address as a fireside chat as we progress is the two different corners. Is this an opportunity or is it a threat? If you look at an individual, what you have seen in the news the last couple of days, we start to see more and more areas that are being cared for by AI, if we might say so. And we see that development is being done by artificial intelligence, true development, and not just code pieces, but actually you can instruct an AI that this is what I'm looking for. And then it will start building that and everything that is required in terms of setting up databases and everything. I myself have been experimenting just 2 days ago with developing a user interface front end to solve a problem without having the actual product in place, and we didn't have any code at all. We just mocked up everything using a text-based prompt that generated the entire front end and the design for us. And this is something that when I talk to other business leaders, they are still a little bit hesitant on how to use this, because what they see that is an immense potential. But if they start to talk about it internally within their companies, there are people that are employed to solve these problems that at some point will actually be managed by AI. And you need to bring this with you and see, like, how can I meet in between? How can I make my fellow coworkers and colleagues and employees to understand that this is the tool of the future that will help them as well? Because to me, AI is not replacing humans. It's replacing the workplaces that we humans should not be working on. That is the real power that I see in the near future. Like, we should hand over things that are managed by AI controlled robots in big rooms without no windows, in storage space and so on. But we can also make use of artificial intelligence when it comes to the point of helping us move faster and to just experiment. And that is what I encourage all the companies that I work with to actually dare to start doing. And the complicated thing here is to go from your safe environment and start to move into experimenting in the zone that you're not used to. And that's why I keep on saying experiment, because if you treat this as a project, people will see, like, okay, in a project, there should be a project definition. It should be a definition of done. It should be some sort of structure. But if you start to experiment, you will see how that structure evolves over time as you learn and also as the AI learn and progress. And don't keep to one tool. I will not mention specific tools now, but if you're having specific questions, we can address that, of course. But it's better that you feel like, okay, so this is an interesting space. Let's start with one thing. Let's focus on a simple piece, not the entire machinery. Just focus on one small thing and see how you can make that more efficient. By basically asking the AI, how can I make this more efficient? Or how can I simplify this process? How can I create an ad campaign without going and designing all the ads? How can I maintain an up-to-date product representation while there are 4 different seasons of the year without taking new photos and so on?
Yes.
So this is just a little bit of a teaser in terms of how you break outside of that safety zone.
Yeah, and thank you so much for that. It is such an amazing topic, and there's so many people out there, including some people that I know, who are just definitely afraid to the point they don't even want to know about it. They don't want to learn about it. They're resisting it, and they just think it's Big Brother coming in, intruding on their privacy. And I get that. But I see some incredible breakthroughs in that. We have on our panel today one of the technology gurus, Professor Christian Ferrioli, who's worked with every tech company in the world as a speaker and an author. I'd like for you just to have a couple of minutes here, just jump in, Professor Christian, if you don't mind, and give us your take on this.
There we are. Thank you, Coach MJ. So I come from the country of pizza, which is Italy, not China. And have been launching a running campaign for the last 23 years. So since the year 2003, where I launched the first digital marketing campaign, I've been using technology to help organizations to achieve bigger results in a way that they couldn't expect or they couldn't believe. Actually, the company that I started with was Oracle, the database company, the Fortune 500. And then I realized that even a company like Oracle, they were not using any technology to help improving sales. I'm talking about 23 years ago. Now, obviously, they are doing great stuff. But my idea, my purpose, my mission in life has been always the same. Since I'm an IT engineer, I find out that there are technology which are friendly, or they could be seen as a friendly, where typically technology has been always seen as a difficult things to understand. Artificial intelligence, digital marketing, all of those technology innovation are not easy. And then again, it's thanks to people like me that organization can use it, marketing people, sales people can use it to get more work done, which in some cases is just to produce more or work better. In other cases, in the case of digital marketing, it's about selling more. Or in the case of social selling, how can a salesperson can use social tools to sell more? And I'm not talking about campaign or social media marketing. I'm talking about really empowering human beings with those tools that are going to allow them to work and produce more. So This is my life mission. This is what I've been doing, and I'm keep doing it. I'm doing it through my digital marketing company that I opened in Dubai in 2010. And I'm doing it through speeches and trainings just to educate more executives into this complex world of technology, because it shouldn't be complex. It should be easy to understand and easy to use. So,
very good. And
what's back for you?
Speaking of pizza, fire was a tool, right? Until they learned they can make pizza with fire. I'm going to bring on our next esteemed board member, Dave Crane, who has influenced and spoken to and reached, and over 1 billion people are in the world on the various events. He's worked with Bruce Willis and so many, James Brown, Brian Tracy, so many A-listers and celebrities. And today he helps C-level executives rebrand themselves. And he's actually been experimenting himself also with AI. Dave, can I just ask you to come on in and give us your take on this?
Thank you, Coach MJ. And I love listening to Christian and Carl, who I'm very fond of as well, because they have a completely different angle on the same thing. Now, the way I see AI is just like the invention of electricity. Before that, people were saying, we're fine with horse and cart and with lamps that you had to light with fire. And what you've got to do to take on the new AI is basically had to do with electricity. Rather than tag it on and see how we can do stuff more efficiently, I think the smart people reinvent the entire system and have AI at the center of it, rather than having it in a little box that they wheel on and say, let's get AI to do what we do. I think what we have to do is lean into what we do better than anything, which is acoustic skills, understanding the bigger picture and leaning into that and making sure that we have our branding, our ability to communicate, our ability to understand what the data is giving us and how to interpret it into the workplace, and also how it affects people. Our job is to fill the gap more effectively with the heavy lifting and donkey work being done at the drop of a hat by AI. That leaves us to use our own expertise and our emotional intelligence and our knowledge of people and the knowledge of the way that people react to stuff to be able to be more effective. And I think that when we look at the overall impacts, I remember watching a lecture being given about what happened with the world's first billion-dollar company, had about 20,000 staff. And then the next billion-dollar company had roughly about 200 staff. And then the next billion-dollar company was WhatsApp, which only had about 13 staff. And the same speaker was saying that the next billion-dollar company that starts from scratch will have 3 staff plus AI. And that's an ambition that I think not only should excite everybody, but it also means that if it's 3 staff, then what can we do with it when we allow ourselves to ask ourselves better questions? Because I really do believe that those who immerse themselves into it will find the most effective results. And this is just the beginning for everybody, even on this call, who's looking at it and saying, yeah, I've got something special. Yeah, the same guys inventing AI are having the same battle in their offices about creating something special. Now, the winners of every game, like Wayne Gretzky, who scored more goals in ice hockey than anyone else. And they asked him, how can you manage to score so many goals? And he said, well, because I watch the game and I don't see where the puck is. I see where it's going next. And that's where I go to meet it. I think that's a really effective way for everybody to consider where AI is. Get up to speed, understand the game, but work out where you need to be. And let the technology catch up with you, do whatever you need to do to make it more effective. So when you do hit the ground running, you hit the ground running faster when AI is able to supply something that gets you to where you want to be better.
Absolutely. You know, you brought up an interesting point there, and I was thinking about how disruptive this is. But guess again, I mean, you know, Henry Ford was a disruptor, and so were so many other great innovators. Mohan, our keynote guest this morning, is a disruptor. And we have situations where companies who were doing videos like Blockbusters, one of the biggest go-to company in the world for videos. And they had this kind of saying, this mentality was, well, but we've been doing it this way for years. This is how we've always done it. And they got disrupted themselves. So I think you're right, Dave. There's 2 things that you can do with change. You can try to resist it at your peril or embrace it, get on top of it, and ride that horse to the finish line. Back into this.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Dave. And the interesting part here is the thing in between, because in many situations, if you're an innovator, you can sort of predict parts of the future. And we have had a speed that we can keep up with for quite some time. But now with artificial intelligence, to many people, it's difficult to keep up to and even imagine what the capabilities are in just a week or 2. So you need to stay up to date, and you need to really be part of the game in a way to be able to predict where the puck is going. And it's not a situation where you can lean back. This is the situation where you either make it or you're out of the game. So you really need to invest that time and to also ask questions. And this is something that I feel that most people are hesitant about, to dare to ask questions, because in a way, if you're a business leader, if you're working within your position, you're expected to know, you're expected to have some sort of professional experience and so on. But in this time and age right now, there is such a shift. So we don't know, and we need to be in a position where we are allowed to say, I don't know. So let me go out there and ask these questions. And if you don't find the answer, then we go back to what I started saying. If you don't find the answer, start experimenting, start to pressure test, start to just see what happens if you do this and if you do that. And if you don't find the tool straight away, then maybe it's not that difficult to actually use these different technologies to build the capabilities that you're looking for. Because in some areas, you can actually, just by explaining what it is that you're looking for, get the response with a minimal viable product that you can actually play around with that solves your problem. Maybe not in the most beautiful way, but it solves the problem. And then you see that, okay, this is something we can do. So let's make this more beautiful and more robust in a way.
So I have a question for the panel, for you, Carl, and Professor Christian and Dave, and even Mohan. One of the questions that came through was, I'm an entrepreneur, he says, and I'd like to know more about AI and how AI can help me generate leads and help me make sales. Well, there's a practical question. You can't blame the person for asking it. Can I just let everybody have 1 minute to try to answer this question? Dave, you first.
No pressure then. Well, I would suggest that the way that you do it is you throw that question straight into ChatGPT or whichever is your particular way of doing it. Remember, it's effectively, for anybody who's as geeky as me and enjoyed Star Trek, you've now got Mr. Spock working alongside you. And the answers are never fun, but the answers are very comprehensive. And apart from the odd hallucination of the things that you get back, you can brainstorm the questions a lot more effectively than you could yourself. And you can also put parameters around those questions to say, considering the leads I want to have, where will I find them? What do I need to say? Can you put together an entire marketing campaign and then critique it? Or even ask me the questions I should be asking you best. And then creating, once you've got the answers, the results and things that you think you want to have, then you say, can that be as a prompt? So I can return to this later after the long line of different things that I've loaded into ChatGPT, whichever your preferred platform is. So I think it just starts with asking better questions at this point, but I am under no illusion that in no time at all, the big boys are going to come out with effective business suites. So you won't just have you programming what you want your AI assistant to be like. They will give you, for X amount of money, which will be a rental business model, your accountant, your head of creativity, your designer, your SEO person.
Yes.
They'll just be numbered and you can call what you want and there'll be a little bot. So the whole business in a box will come out soon enough. But between now and then, I can guarantee Professor Christian Farioli and Carl Lillard will invent every person in that office for you. So get into them fast, because I'm sure you'll get it at a premium rate.
Yes, do follow these members here on the panel today, Mohan and Professor Christian, Carl Lillard, and Dave Crane, because they are movers and shakers, particularly right now. Mohan, do you have just a quick insight for 1 minute about how this entrepreneur can answer his question? Can AI help him find sales and leads today?
I think it's an excellent question. Yes, the answer is yes, it can. However, we are still in an embryonic stage. Why always tell the entrepreneurs who are building companies to really have even an officer called Chief AI Officer, just like Chief Technology Officer. The reason being, not just in the marketing or bringing clients, customer acquisition, in the whole area, AI will help. This particular how to improve, I think the ChatGPT is a proper vehicle. Somebody can use it. But the important thing, I believe, it's not just using ChatGPT. How do you interface with it? What kind of questions you ask? In fact, one of the things I would do if I'm doing that, instead of asking, how do I get? You should ask the question, what question should I ask to help me to reach the answer? So that may be much more challenging. Sometimes it's a function of how you do. But every new company, new entrepreneur, new technology should have somebody more knowledgeable in the AI to be integrated into the company. So I don't have the right answer, but that should be one of the things they should do.
That's an excellent point. Over to you, Professor Christian. How can you help this entrepreneur find clients and sales using AI?
Right. This is what I've been doing for the last 23 years, finding clients online. Now just AI is making it easier for people that they have no experience at all, like the guys listening at this message, to achieve something that until a few years ago was absolutely impossible. You need to go through a very complex training. You need to understand a lot of concept before you are able to do it. It's like when I start, I was an IT engineer, so I knew the computer inside out. Now you don't need to be an IT engineer to operate a computer. My kids, when they were 1.5 years old, they were able to unlock the iPad, click YouTube, and watch cartoons. So now it's the same. AI is bridging this gap in a big way. The big thing is that you just ask, and the more you ask, the more you get information. The more you ask, the more you understand how to ask. Because the point of AI is to help you in a crazy way, but you need to ask the right question. And a very simple way to ask is that at least you need to mention the role. So if you ask somebody, hey, how can I get more leads? But this somebody maybe doesn't even know who are you, what you want, what kind of leads, what you want to achieve. So you need to explain a little bit more. Don't expect that ChatGPT is like Google. In Google, you ask one keyword, you ask simple things, get more leads, and you get some websites. GPT, you ask more specific, like act as a marketing expert or as a digital marketing professional. I want to get more leads. The leads should be this kind of people, that kind of audience, etc. And then give me a set of steps where I can follow to get those leads. But at the same time, I advise you guys, when you ask GPT, always ask if you need more information, ask me. Because sometimes GPT doesn't have the input. So we expect to get the perfect answer where we're not giving the perfect question. So it's fair to say, ask me more if you need more information. And in case GPT is going to ask you, what's the target audience? Who are you going to sell? In which country? In which language? Etc. etc. Then you reply, giving them those inputs. And that's it. Then you get your full plan to get more leads. I hope that makes sense.
Okay, great. Fantastic. 2 minutes over to you, Carl.
Yeah. So real quick, before we start anywhere, you need to understand who you're going for. So instead, because we have these capabilities now, instead of going for personas, a group of individuals, let's try to really get down to the individual, the avatar, and really try to pinpoint who is it that I want to sell to, or who do whatever AI service you're working with, if that is ChatGPT or anything else, who is ready to buy this particular product, and try to keep it as narrow as possible, because the wider you do it, the more you have to spend in terms of reach and marketing. So really try to limit your scope as much as you possibly can to get as close as possible to what you know is your customer. And then one other thing that Dave also mentioned in terms of how to operate with AI, there is something that is called hallucination, and that is what you and I would call lies. But you can actually trick an AI to lie to you or hallucinate to you. And when we're talking about innovation, that is comparable to thinking outside the box. Because outside the box is stuff that is not really thought of. And remember that the AI is a trained model. It's been trained of a massive amount of information. So it's limited to some extent to whatever it's been trained on. And what you want to achieve is to have creative ideas that people have not tried always. So try to balance that and find a model where you have 80% of the best and brightest methods, but then maybe 20% that are really outside the norm.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Dave, you want to close us out? You got 1 minute?
Well, I just want to say how much I love you. But I also wanted to say that the important thing about AI is this is just like, imagine it's like a toddler, a 2-year-old that's just learning to walk and talk and dribble and knock stuff over. That's where we are right now. When it gets to being like a teenager, that's when we all die. Joking. But what you have to do is you have to experience the story as it goes, get involved and nurture it and be part of that adventure. Because one of the things is right now, looking at the average age on camera here, we are all a little bit older. So we're having to go for another reinvention of how we use this stuff. The generation that's a couple of years or decades younger than us are just going to embrace it, hit the ground running, and wonder why we ever had any questions about how to use it. So our job more than anything is to guide but also to understand that this is part of our legacy, to be able to help the generations that come after us find an easier way of doing it. And sometimes that means having some kind of parental control and bringing ethics in, bringing emotional intelligence in, bringing experience in, and helping people to understand the objective is not just to do it faster or make more money. Sometimes it's to make a better world at the same time.
Awesome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to have to be it for today. It's such a fascinating topic, and we could go on, and we will. The Firepower C-Suite will be doing a program every month. And you heard me announce today that we're inviting Mohan Ananda back for our entrepreneurial session sometime in the future. So we're looking forward to that. I'd like to thank you again, Mohan, for coming in and being our keynote speaker and guest today. Special kudos also to Professor Christian Ferrioli, Carl Littlerud, and Dave Crane. You can find all of these people on firepowertalent.com. They're fabulous speakers, hosts for events, trainers. Anything your company needs to improve, you'll find it on there. And from me and all of our team, we'd just like to say thank you very much. Keep looking up. As one of my friends, Dr. Simon Crawford, says all the time, stay curious. And yes, Mohan, your curiosity led you to billions. I want to follow you around myself. Thank you, everybody.